Hello students, Jinalisha welcomes you all on behalf of Saraswati International Academy. Today we will begin with the next part of the chapter Human Health and Disease. Students, in the previous video we have studied some of the common infectious diseases occurring in human being like typhoid, pneumonia, common cold, malaria and amoebic dysentery. In today's lecture we will study some of the other common diseases occurring in human beings. So let us begin with the video. The first disease we will deal with is the Ascariasis. So students, the Ascariasis is caused by Ascaris lumbricoid, which is a common roundworm and it is a helminthic disease. So who is responsible for causing Ascariasis? It is a roundworm called as the Ascaris lumbricoid and it is an helminthic disease. Now what are the symptoms and pathogenicity of the disease? So Ascaris, which is an intestinal parasite, is responsible for causing Ascariasis. What are the symptoms of the disease? It includes internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia and blockage of the intestinal passage. Now how this disease is transmitted to a healthy individual? So basically the eggs of the parasites, they are excreted along with the feces of the infected person, which contaminates soil, water, plants, etc. A healthy person acquires the infection through contaminated water, vegetable, fruits, etc. Now see students how the disease is transmitted. The feces of the infected person, it consists of the eggs of the parasite. These feces contaminate what? They contaminate soil, water, plants, etc. Now how healthy individual acquires this disease? They acquire the disease by consuming the contaminated water, fruits, vegetable, etc. So this is how the Ascariasis is transmitted. The next disease is elephantiasis or filariasis. This disease is called as elephantiasis because students, the legs of the individual becomes like that of an elephant. They are swollen or inflamed like the legs of an elephant and therefore it is called as the elephantiasis. It is called as filariasis because this disease is caused by the filarial worm. So causative agent is Wuchereria bancrofti and Wuchereria malayi, which are the filarial worms and again they are the helminthic diseases. Now what is the pathogenicity and the symptoms of the diseases? The filarial worm causes slowly developing chronic inflammation of the organs in which they live for many years, usually the lymphatic vessels of lower limbs, and the disease is called as elephantiasis or filariasis. So filarial worms basically is responsible for causing the chronic inflammation of the organs in which they reside. Now this filarial worm can reside in the organs for many years where they will cause the chronic inflammation. Normally they reside in the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs. The genital organs are also affected, resulting in the gross deformities. In certain cases, the genetic organs of a person are also affected and they become deformed. Deformed yani their shape changes. There will be abnormality in the shape of these organs. Now how is this disease transmitted? The pathogens are transmitted to a healthy person through a bite by a female mosquito vectors like Aedes, Culex, etc. So basically the female Aedes or female Culex mosquito, they will contain this particular pathogen and when this particular mosquito bites a healthy individual, they may get this particular disease. Students, here you can see the diagram of a person who is suffering from the filariasis. You can see that this is the lower limb of this individual and this lower limb is chronically inflamed, right? So it shows the inflammation of the lower limb and here you can see the shape of the lower limb, that it is like the leg of an elephant and therefore it is also called as elephantiasis. Now next disease is the ringworm, or also called as the tinea. Now basically it is a fungal disease which is caused by fungi Microsporum, then Trichophyton and Epidermophyton. These are the three fungi responsible for causing tinea or ringworm: Microsporum, Trichophyton and Epidermophyton. Now what are the symptoms and pathogenicity of the diseases? See students, this is the most common infectious disease occurring in the man. The symptoms include appearance of dry and scaly lesions. Lesions are the injury to the body, a person's body or the organs of the body. So there will be lesions. These lesions are dry and scaly on the various part of the body such as skin, nails and scalp. So basically the common symptom of this disease is appearance of the dry and scaly lesions on skin, nails and scalp. The lesions are accompanied by intense itching. यानी जहाँ पे lesions है, at that region there will be intense itching. Now how this disease occurs or how is it transmitted? So basically heat and moisture help the fungi to grow, which makes them thrive in skin folds such as those in groin area or between the toes. Okay, जहाँ पे heat and moisture होगा, in that region the fungi can easily grow. So basically जहाँ पे heat and fungi होगा, like groin region of our body. What is groin? Basically it is the area of the body where the abdomen meets with the leg and inner thigh muscles attached to the pubic bone. So that in the groin area heat and moisture is high, and due to that the fungus can grow easily. Clear? Another region is in between the toes. So these are the regions where fungus can grow. जहाँ पे normally skin folds easily होते हैं, at that region the fungi can grow. Ringworms are acquired from the soil or by using the towels, clothes or even the comb of an infected individuals. So basically this fungi, they can be acquired from the soil or by using the materials like towels, clothes or comb of an infected individual. See students, here you can see a diagram where a person's skin is affected by the ringworm. These are the dry scaly lesions which are found on the face of this particular person. Now, how can we prevent and control the infectious diseases? That is prevention and control of the infectious diseases. The main very important thing is the maintenance of the personal and public hygiene. These are the two important things which are required to prevent and control any of the infectious disease. So maintenance of personal and public hygiene is important for prevention and control of infectious diseases. Measures. Now how can we get the personal hygiene or how personal hygiene can be achieved? So measures for personal hygiene include keeping the body clean, consumption of clean drinking water, food, vegetable, fruits, etc. So these are the certain ways through which personal hygiene can be achieved. We should keep our body clean, we should drink clean water, we should consume the clean foods, vegetables, fruits, etc. Now how can public hygiene be achieved? Public hygiene includes proper disposal of waste and excreta, periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, pools, cesspools as well as tank, and observing the standard practices of hygiene in public catering. So basically what are the measures to be taken to achieve public hygiene? So there should be proper disposal of waste and excretory material. There should be cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, cesspools. Cesspools are the large underground tank which are used for temporary collecting and storing the waste materials. Then water tanks. Another thing is there should be the hygienic condition in the public catering. So these are the certain ways through which public hygiene can be achieved. These measures are particularly essential where the infectious agents are transmitted through food and water, such as typhoid, amoebiasis and ascariasis. See students, typhoid, amoebiasis and ascariasis, they are the diseases which spread through contaminated food and water. So ऐसे जो diseases है जो contaminated food and water से transmit होते हैं, for them what should be practiced? Proper disposal of the waste and excreta. There should be periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, pools, cesspools, tanks, as well as to observe the standard practices of hygiene in the public catering. Now, what precautions are to be taken in case of airborne disease? हमने पहले क्या कौन सा देखा? We have studied regarding the precautions to be taken in the diseases which are spread through food and water, contaminated food and water. Now, what are the precautions to be taken in case of the airborne diseases? In case of airborne diseases like pneumonia and common cold, in addition to above measures, close contact with the infected persons or their belongings should be avoided. So पहले के measures यानी food proper होना चाहिए, वो वेस्ट डिस्पोजल प्रॉपर होना चाहिए, डिसइंफेक्शन ऑफ द वाटर बॉडीज़ होना चाहिए, ये तो होना ही चाहिए. बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग इज़ to avoid the close contact with the infected persons or their belonging. Airborne disease को control करने के लिए we should avoid the close contact with the infected person as well as with their belongings. Now, what are the precautions required for the diseases spreading through the vectors? Vectors यानी mosquitoes से हो, ऐसे जो agents है, vectors are the agents which are responsible for spreading or transmitting the disease. So जो diseases vectors के presence में होते हैं, उनके लिए क्या precautions लेने चाहिए? So for the diseases such as malaria and filariasis that are transmitted through insect vectors, the most important measure is to control or eliminate the vectors and their breeding places. So जो diseases vectors के through होते हैं, उनमें important thing is to control or eliminate the vectors. Vectors should be eliminated and their breeding places, जहाँ पे उनका reproduction होता है, जहाँ पे उनका multiplication होता है, that places should also be eliminated. Now, how can that be achieved? It can be achieved by avoiding the stagnation of water in and around the residential areas. जहाँ पे भी residential areas है, वहाँ पे stagnant water नहीं होना चाहिए. Stagnant water are the main regions, areas के जहाँ पे mosquitoes का breeding easily होगा. There should be regular cleaning of household coolers, use of mosquito nets, introducing the fishes like gambusia in the pond that feed on the mosquito larva, spraying of the insecticides in ditches, ditches यानी गटर जो बोलते हैं उसको ditches बोलते हैं, drainage areas and swamps, etc. So how can we control the diseases which spread through vectors? So basically मैंने बोला कि vectors को eliminate करना चाहिए, या वेक्टर्स जहाँ पे ब्रीड करते हैं, जहाँ पे उनका रिप्रोडक्शन होता है, वो एरियाज़ को प्रॉपर रखने चाहिए. हाउ दैट कैन बी डन? सो वी शुड अवॉइड द स्टेग्नेशन ऑफ द वाटर इन रेसिडेंशियल एरियाज. देयर शुड बी क्लीनिंग ऑफ द वाटर कूलर्स. देयर शुड बी द यूज़ ऑफ द मॉस्किटो नेट्स. नाउ देर आर सर्टन फिशेज लाइक गेम्बूजिया, जो उनके लिए फूड क्या है? मॉस्किटो के लार्वे. सो पॉन्ड में ऐसे फिशेस डालनी चाहिए like gambusia which feed on the mosquito larvae. What do they eat? This type of fishes, they eat the mosquito larvae. Mosquito larvae को when they eat, of course mosquito का development नहीं होगा. Then certain regions like ditches है, drainage areas है, swamps है, they should be sprayed with the insecticides or they should be disinfected. In addition, doors and windows should be provided with the wire mesh to prevent the entry of the mosquitoes. Such precautions have become more important, especially in the light of the recent widespread incidences of vector-borne diseases like dengue, chikungunya in many parts of India. So basically, dengue and chikungunya also requires the vectors, and for them the vectors are the mosquitoes. So not only for the malaria and filaria, but the other diseases like dengue and chikungunya, which are also vector-borne diseases, for them also this precaution should be taken. Advancements of the biological science. The advancements made in the biological science have armed us effectively to deal with many infectious diseases. Now there are advancement in biological science. Technology mein there is discovery of vaccines, antibiotics. So we can say that there are advancement made in the biological science. And due to these advancements, we are able to effectively deal with the infectious diseases. The use of vaccines and immunization programs have enabled us to completely eradicate deadly disease like smallpox. So, due to vaccinations, we are able to, or human beings, they have completely eradicated certain diseases like smallpox. A large number of other infectious diseases like polio, diphtheria, pneumonia, tetanus, they have also been controlled to large extent by the use of vaccines. So other infectious diseases वो completely eradicate नहीं हुए हैं, but they have been controlled due to the use of the vaccines. Biotechnology is at the verge of making available newer and safer vaccines. Discovery of antibiotics and other drugs have also enabled us to effectively treat the infectious disease. So, by the discovery of antibiotics and other drugs or medicines, it have helped us to treat many infectious diseases. So, that was regarding the first part of the chapter, that is human health and some of the diseases. Now students, we will deal with the next part of the chapter, and that is immunity. Now see students, what is immunity? The capacity of our body to fight against the diseases, that is called as the immunity. Listen very carefully. See students, every day we are exposed to large number of infectious agents. We inhale large number of viruses, बैक्टीरिया थ्रू फूड, बहुत सारे बैक्टीरिया या कोई भी मटेरियल अपनी बॉडी में जा रहा है. बट आर वी सफरिंग फ्रॉम द डिसीजेज एवरी टाइम? नो. क्यों? क्योंकि अपने बॉडी में इम्यून सिस्टम है जो अपने को प्रोटेक्ट करती है ये सब इन्फेक्शियस मटीरियल से. So that capacity of the body to fight against the infectious organisms or infectious agents, it is called as the immunity. Every day we are exposed to large number of infectious agents. However, only a few of these exposure results in disease. Why? The reason is it is due to the fact that the body is able to defend itself from most of the foreign agents. So this overall ability of the host to fight the disease causing organisms conferred by immune system is called as immunity. So what is immunity? The ability of the body to fight against the disease causing organisms, and this ability is conferred, it is given by the immune system of the body. It is called as the immunity. So resistance of the body against the pathogen or disease is called immunity. Now there are two types of immunity. One is innate immunity and another one is the acquired immunity. So immunity, I told you two types: acquired, which is also called as specific immunity, and innate, which is also called as the non-specific immunity. Acquired immunity are further divided into two types. One is active immunity and passive immunity. In today's lecture, we will study in detail the innate immunity. So innate immunity is a non-specific type of a defense that is present at the time of birth. So it is inborn immunity. बर्थ से ही अपनी बॉडी में जो इम्यूनिटी होती है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज द इनेट इम्यूनिटी. इट इज़ नॉन स्पेसिफिक. नॉन स्पेसिफिक यानी कोई ऑर्गेनिज्म आया तो ही वो इम्यून सिस्टम होगी, नहीं होगी ऐसा नहीं. इट इज़ नॉन स्पेसिफिक. इट इज़ ऑलवेज प्रेजेंट इन द बॉडी and it is also called as inborn immunity because it is present at the time of the birth. Now, how this type of the immunity is provided? So this type of the immunity is provided through certain barriers. So this is accomplished by providing different types of the barriers to which the entry of the foreign agents into our body. So how the innate immunity is conferred or how it is provided? So basically it is provided in the form of the barriers. Barriers to what? Barriers which block the entry of the pathogens into our body. Now innate immunity is basically consists of 4 types of the barriers, which are physical barriers, physiological barriers, cellular barriers, and lastly the cytokine barriers. So let us study all the barriers of the innate immunity in detail. So first of all, the physical or anatomical barriers. So they act as the first line of defense or external defense. अपनी बॉडी में फर्स्ट लाइन ऑफ डिफेंस क्या है? स्किन है, राइट. कोई भी ऑर्गेनिजम्स को अपनी बॉडी में एंटर होने के लिए किसको क्रॉस करना पड़ेगा? स्किन को. So these are called as the first line of defense. क्यों? क्योंकि basically they resist the infection by blocking the entry of the pathogen into body. ये barriers क्या करते हैं? Basically they block the entry of the pathogen into the body. They are always ready and prepared to defend the body from infection. Skin on our body is a main barrier which prevents the entry of the microorganism. Normally skin एक्स्ट्रा या फॉरेन पार्टिकल को बॉडी में अंदर जाने नहीं देगा. yes, अगर स्किन में कट्स है देन थ्रू दैट कट्स द पैथोजन में एंटर. अदरवाइज स्किन के पास ऐसी कैपेसिटी है जो क्या करते हैं? माइक्रोब्स को अंदर जाने से प्रिवेंट करेंगे. Another barriers of the physical one are mucus coating of the epithelium lining the respiratory, gastrointestinal and urogenital tracts also helps in trapping the microbes entering our body. Okay, दूसरे barriers कौन है? mucus coating. अपनी body के gastrointestinal tract है, respiratory tract है and urinogenital tracts जो भी है उसमें म्यूकस कोटिंग होता है. सो वहाँ पे म्यूकोजल सेल्स होते हैं, म्यूकोजा होता है. ये म्यूकोजा में क्या होता है? म्यूकोजल सेल्स एंड सीलिया. क्या करता है? म्यूकोजल सेल्स माइक्रोब्स को ट्रैप करता है एंड सीलिया क्या करता है? इट प्रोपेल्स द माइक्रोब्स टुवर्ड्स द आउटर साइड. सो म्यूकस कोटिंग ऑफ द एपिथेलियम विच लाइन्स द रेस्पिरेटरी, गैस्ट्रोइंटेस्टिनल and urogenital tracts, they help in trapping the microbes entering our body. वो क्या करते हैं? माइक्रोब्स को ट्रैप कर देते हैं. म्यूकोस कैसा सब्सटेंस है? स्टिकी सब्सटेंस है. ये स्टिकी सब्सटेंस में माइक्रोब स्टिक हो जाएंगे. ओके, सो दिस आर द फिजिकल बैरियर्स. द स्किन एंड द म्यूकस कोटिंग in the lining of the respiratory, urinogenital and gastrointestinal tract, they act as the physical barriers. The next one is the physiological barriers. Again, they also act as the first line of defense. Acid in stomach, saliva in mouth, tears from eyes, they all prevent the microbial growth. अपने स्टमक में एसिड है, माउथ में सलाइवा है एंड आइज में टीयर्स है. उनके पास ऐसे सब्सटेंसेस है जो माइक्रोब्स के ग्रोथ को होने नहीं देगा. अनदर टाइप ऑफ फिजियोलॉजिकल बैरियर इज फीवर. Fever, it means high temperature, and this high temperature also inhibits the growth of the microbes. फीवर की वजह से जो हाई टेम्परेचर होता है, इट प्रिवेंट्स द ग्रोथ ऑफ द microbes or it inhibits the growth of the microbes. It does not allow the microbes to grow. The acidic pH in the various types of parts of the body like stomach, vagina and oral cavity also inhibits the growth of the microbe. Stomach में acidic pH है, vagina में also acidic pH, oral cavity also consists of the acidic pH. ये acidic pH की वजह से microbes cannot grow. Secretions of the body like eyes, sebum, all they contain the lysozyme enzyme, and this enzyme will kill or destroy the microbes. So all these things, saliva है, acid है, tears है, fever है, acidic pH है, ये सब क्या करते हैं? They create the adverse environment for the growth of microbes. They create the environment which will basically inhibit the growth of the microbes. So that is regarding the physiological barriers. The next barriers are the cellular barriers. So basically they act as the second line of defense. The cellular barriers, they act as the second line of defense. Now what is second line of defense? It is also called as internal defense. So basically it is a non-specific resistance that destroy the invaders in generalized way without targeting the specific individual. They will kill or attack the microbe in general way. Example, phagocytic cells which ingest and destroy all the microbes that pass into the body tissues. कोई भी माइक्रोब, ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई पर्टिकुलर माइक्रोब को ही वो मारेगा. कोई भी माइक्रोब अगर अपनी बॉडी टिश्यू से पास होगा तो फेगोसाइटिक सेल उसे क्या कर देंगे? डिस्ट्रॉय करेंगे. सो दे आर कॉल्ड एज द सेकेंड लाइन ऑफ द डिफेंस. सर्टेन टाइप्स ऑफ द ल्यूकोसाइट्स ऑफ आवर बॉडी लाइक पॉलीमॉर्फोन्यूक्लियर ल्यूकोसाइट्स PMNL और न्यूट्रोफिल्स, then monocytes and natural killer which are again the type of the lymphocytes in the blood as well as the macrophages in the tissues. They phagocytose and destroy the microbes. So basically क्या बोल रहे हैं? अपनी बॉडी के WBCs जैसे न्यूट्रोफिल्स, मोनोसाइट्स एंड लिम्फोसाइट्स, what they do as well as macrophages जो कहाँ पे होते हैं? टिश्यूज़ में होते हैं. ये क्या करते हैं? दे डिस्ट्रॉय द माइक्रोब बाय फेगोसाइटोसिस. व्हाट इज फेगोसाइटोसिस? कोई भी फेगोसाइटिक सेल क्या करता है? फॉरेन पार्टिकल या माइक्रोब को एंगल्फ करेगा, फूड वैक्यूल फॉर्म करेगा, उसमें माइक्रोब आ जाएंगे एंड ये माइक्रोब को क्या कर देंगे? डाइजेस्ट कर देंगे, डिस्ट्रॉय कर देंगे. मैक्रोफेजेस, दे आर द लार्ज इरेगुलर शेप्ड सेल्स that engulf the microbes, virus, cellular debris, etc. in response to the infection. Now, out of the cells mentioned, monocytes, PMNL neutrophils and macrophages, they are phagocytic cells जो phagocytose करके microbes को destroy कर देगा. But जो natural killer cell है, they are non-phagocytic cell. वो सेल है, सेल्यूलर बैरियर्स यानी सेल्स विच विल प्रोवाइड द इम्यूनिटी. सो नेचुरल किलर सेल्स आर द लिम्फोसाइटिक सेल, बट दिस नेचुरल किलर सेल आर नॉट द फेगोसाइटिक सेल. सो वो कैसे माइक्रोब को मारेगा? सो दे किल द वायरस इन्फेक्टेड सेल्स एंड ट्यूमर सेल्स ऑफ द बॉडी by creating the pores in the plasma membrane of the infected cell. ये क्या करते हैं? कौन से सेल? नेचुरल किलर सेल्स. ये क्या करते हैं? जो इन्फेक्टेड सेल्स है, वायरल इन्फेक्टेड सेल्स एंड ट्यूमर सेल्स, उसमें वो क्या करेंगे? पोर्स बना देंगे. नाउ बाय दिस पोर्स व्हाट विल हैपन? वाटर विल एंटर विच कॉज द स्वेलिंग एंड बर्स्टिंग ऑफ द इन्फेक्टेड सेल्स. प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन में पहले तो पोर करेंगे. कौन? नेचुरल किलर सेल. ये पोर से सेल के अंदर वाटर जाएगा. सेल के अंदर वाटर जाएगा यानी सेल क्या होगा? स्वेल होगा. एंड स्वेल होगा तो फाइनली दैट सेल विल बर्स्ट, इट विल लाइज. सो बेसिकली नेचुरल किलर सेल आर नॉन फेगोसाइटिक सेल, यानी वो पर्टिकुलर माइक्रोब है उसको एनगल्फ नहीं करेगा, बल्कि जो इन्फेक्टेड सेल है उसमें पोर्स करके उसमें वाटर की एंट्री के वजह से सेल स्वेल होकर लाइस हो जाएगा. And the last barriers are the cytokine barriers. Again, they are the second line of defense. The virus infected cell, they secrete the proteins called interferon. Interferon, it is an antiviral protein which protect the non-infected cell from the viral infection. So, जो virally infected cell होते हैं, they secrete a protein called as interferon. ये interferon क्या करता है, जो non-infected cell है उनको वायरल इन्फेक्शन से प्रिवेंट करेगा, प्रोटेक्ट करेगा. सो दिस आर द वेरियस बैरियर्स ऑफ द innate immunity. Students, I end my lecture here. We will study the next part, that is acquired immunity, in the next lecture. Thank you, students.